If we find ourselves attacking an Active Directory environment, either through a pen test or a CTF, and we've stumbled upon some credentials or a username and password hash, then we may try to run our favorite Windows tools like the tools from Impacket to try and enumerate the domain a little bit more and potentially exploit it. However, if we're using our favorite Windows tools and we're seeing that we're getting errors like the request is not supported, then chances are NTLM authentication is disabled and we're going to have to use Kerberos authentication to bypass this. Kerberos is the ticketing authentication system that Active Directory uses, but we can use it just as easily on our Linux system. We just need to do a little setup first. The first thing we're going to need to do is edit the etc.kerb5.conf file, and in that file underneath where it says realms, we're going to want to add the domain that we're attacking and set the KDC variable to the name of the domain controller in that environment. So let's go ahead and open up kerb5.conf, and here if we scroll down to the bottom of my realms list, we see the domain for the volur box on HackTheBox. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. And we have the KDC variable set to dc.volur.htb, which was discovered during the enumeration steps of that box. So once you have the domain and the domain controller in the kerb5.conf file, we can move on to the next step of getting a Kerberos ticket for a user that we have valid credentials for. We can do this with either the username and password or the username and their password hash. And to do this, we're going to use a tool called Impacket.getTGT. If we have the username and password of a user, then we can use Impacket-getTGT and then specify the domain name of the domain that the user is in, a / and then the user, and we hit enter, and then we'll be prompted to put in the password for this user. So let's go ahead and do that. If you get this clock skew 2 gray error, then your time is not set to the time of the domain controller. So that can easily be fixed by setting time date CTL set NTP off, and then running rdate-n and then the IP of the domain controller to sync your time with the domain controller. Now that our time is synced up, let's try that again. And we should see output that it's saving a ticket to the user.ccache. If we instead had this user's NTLM hash, we could do the -hashes flag and then submit the NTLM hash in a colon and then the hash format. And we should get the same ticket of ryan.naylor.ccache that we did with the password. Once we have this ccache file, which is going to be our ticket, we're going to want to set the KRB5 ccname environment variable to the full path of where that ccache file is located. We can do this by doing an export KRB5 ccname equals and then the full path to where our ccache file sits. And now that we have our ticket set in our environment variable, we can run any tool that supports Kerberos authentication, including any of the Impacket tools, Bloodhound. The majority of Windows tools on Linux should support Kerberos authentication, and most of them it's just as easy as setting the -k flag and optionally the no-pass flag as well. So let's go ahead and give that a try with the ryan.naylor account. And we see we authenticate to the SMB server. We can list the shares, set our share to IT, see what's in it. When we tried to authenticate with NTLM, we would get the unsupported authentication type. We can show that again by omitting the -k and -no-pass flag. As you can see, we still get the request is not supported. So hopefully you now know how to create Kerberos tickets for Kerberos authentication when NTLM authentication is disabled during a CTF or penetration test. If you found this video useful, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. And leave a comment down below if you want to see something specific. Join my Discord if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.